I was in college, sharing a cramped apartment with two roommates, Lisa and Mark. We were a mismatched bunch, but somehow we managed to make it work. The place had its quirks, creaky floors, flickering lights, but nothing too out of the ordinary. That is, until the day Lisa vanished into thin air. Before Lisa's disappearance, our lives were intertwined in a way that felt like destiny. We met during our first year of college, drawn together by a shared interest in art and a healthy dose of quirky humor. She had this infectious laugh that could brighten up the gloomiest of days, and her creative energy was a constant source of inspiration. We quickly became inseparable, spending our days attending classes, exploring the city's hidden gems, and late nights devouring pizza while binge-watching our favorite TV shows. Our apartment was a mishmash of art supplies, inside jokes, and the unmistakable warmth of a friendship that had deepened into something more like family. Lisa had a way of making even the mundane seem exciting. We'd turn grocery shopping into an adventure, laughing our way through the aisles as we debated which flavor of ice cream to get. And when it came to cooking, let's just say our experiments in the kitchen led to more than a few memorable disasters. Mark, Lisa's older brother, was a quieter presence in our lives. He was a bit of a recluse, always immersed in his books or working on coding projects. Despite his introverted nature, he had a kind heart and was always willing to help out when needed. Lisa often talked about her family, her single mother who worked tirelessly to provide for them, and her brother Mark, who she admired for his intellect and quirky sense of humor. The bond between Lisa and Mark was strong, even if they were very different in personality. She'd share stories of their childhood adventures and how they navigated life's challenges together. As the years went by, our lives became increasingly intertwined. Lisa's family became like an extension of my own, and the apartment we shared felt like a sanctuary from the outside world. We celebrated each other's victories and provided support through the tough times. We were more than friends. We were each other's confidants, cheerleaders, and safe haven. It was a typical evening. I had just finished a grueling day of classes, and all I wanted to do was crash on the couch and binge-watch some shows. But when I walked in, something felt off. The living room was empty, eerily silent. No sound of Lisa chatting on the phone or Mark raiding the fridge. It was like the whole place was holding its breath. I called out for Lisa, but there was no response. I checked her room, thinking she might be napping or lost in her music. But her room was empty too. And her stuff, her laptop, her favorite hoodie, everything was just there, like she had evaporated into thin air. Panic started bubbling up inside me. I called Mark, my voice cracking as I told him about Lisa. He rushed back home, and together we searched every corner of that apartment. We even checked the bathroom cabinet, hoping she might be playing some weird prank. But there was no trace of her, not even a note. It was like she had vanished without a trace. Thinking back on that night when Lisa disappeared, the memory is still vivid in my mind. The apartment had this odd sense of quiet, like even the air was holding its breath. I walked into the living room, dropping my bag on the couch, expecting to hear the usual chatter or the TV playing in the background. But there was nothing, just silence. I called out for Lisa, the concern in my voice growing with each unanswered call. I checked her room, half expecting to find her hunched over her laptop or lost in a book, but her room was just as empty as the rest of the apartment. Her unmade bed, her desk strewn with papers, her sneakers by the door. It was all there, frozen in time. It was like she had stepped out for a moment and forgot to come back. I remember my heart pounding in my chest, my palms getting sweaty as I realized something was terribly wrong. I grabbed my phone and dialed her number, my fingers tapping impatiently against the screen as I waited for her to pick up. But there was no answer, just the cold electronic voice telling me the call couldn't be completed as dialed. That's when panic truly set in. I called Mark, my voice quivering as I explained the situation to him. He rushed home and we began tearing through the apartment, calling out Lisa's name, hoping she'd pop out from behind a corner with a mischievous grin. But the more we searched, the more the place felt empty. We looked in every nook and cranny, every possible hiding spot. I checked the balcony, even though it made no sense for her to be out there. We were on the 5th floor. There was no sign of her, no trace. It was like she had been erased from existence. When the police arrived, I must have looked like a wreck. My hair a mess, eyes wide with fear. They questioned us, asked if there had been any arguments, any tensions. But Lisa was our friend, our roommate. There was nothing that could have driven her to just up and disappear. They searched her room, her belongings, her online presence, but all they found was a girl who seemed to vanish into thin air. Days turned into weeks, and Lisa's disappearance remained a mystery. The apartment felt different, like her absence had left this void that nothing could fill. We started hearing strange noises at night, whispers, faint footsteps. I told myself it was just my imagination. But Mark, he looked just as freaked out as I was. Weeks turned into months, and the memory of Lisa's strange appearance haunted me. I tried to move on, to convince myself that it was some sort of hallucination born from the stress and fear of her disappearance. But the image of her ghostly form lingered in my mind, like a puzzle I couldn't solve. It was a rainy evening when it happened. Mark and I were in the apartment, the soft patter of rain against the windows creating an oddly soothing backdrop. We were still in the process of packing up our belongings, ready to leave the place that held too many unsettling memories. As we sorted through boxes, the air seemed to shift. It's hard to explain, but it was as if the atmosphere around us grew heavier, like the energy in the room had changed. Mark noticed it too, his brows furrowed as he glanced around as if searching for something. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw her, Lisa, standing by the doorway to the living room. My heart raced, my breath caught in my throat, but this time she seemed different. Her form was more solid, less ethereal. Her eyes, once vacant, now held a spark of recognition. Weeks turned into months, and the memory of Lisa's strange appearance haunted me. I tried to move on, to convince myself that it was some sort of hallucination born from the stress and fear of her disappearance, but the image of her ghostly form lingered in my mind, like a puzzle I couldn't solve.